My beloved, pause and listen closely, because this moment carries weight you can feel. You did not arrive here by accident, and something within you already knows that. There is an urgency pressing at your spirit, yet a quiet peace trying to steady your breath right now in this moment. I am speaking to the part of you that has been tired, overlooked, and quietly holding on. You have been carrying questions without answers, praying in silence, wondering if anything is truly shifting. What you feel is not imagination, it is awareness meeting a turning point for your life now. But hear this clearly, urgency does not mean panic, and timing does not mean pressure. There is a difference between fear pushing you forward and faith guiding you step by step. Right now, both voices are near you, and the one you follow will shape what unfolds next for you. There is something approaching your life, something meaningful, that carries the weight of answered prayers, but it cannot meet you in confusion. It cannot settle where fear is leading your decisions. This is where the tension lies, because what is near requires a different posture than what you have practiced. You may feel like you are running out of time, like you must decide quickly, act quickly, fix something before it slips away. That feeling is real, but it is not always truth. Sometimes the pressure you feel is the very thing trying to pull you out of alignment now. I need you to notice the contrast within you, the anxious voice that rushes and the steady whisper that waits. One tells you that if you do not act, you will miss everything. The other reminds you that what is meant for you will not pass you by right now. This message is not here to scare you, it is here to realign you. Because there is a small, almost invisible mistake that many make in moments like this, and it quietly blocks what is trying to enter. You may not even realize you are doing it yet right now. Stay with me, because before this message ends, I will show you exactly what to watch for and what to release. Not so you feel burdened, but so you feel clear. There is a difference between being warned and being guided, and today you are being guided in this moment. What is coming toward you does not need perfection, but it does require alignment. It does not respond to desperation, it responds to trust. This is why what feels urgent must still be handled with peace, because peace is not weakness, it is clarity under pressure for your next step. You have been prepared more than you realize, even through the delays, even through the confusion. Nothing has been wasted. Every closed door, every unanswered moment has been shaping your discernment, teaching you what feels right and what only looks right on the surface in ways you could not see. So breathe for a moment and let this settle. You are not late, and you are not missing anything that belongs to you. The only thing that can disrupt this moment is moving from fear instead of faith, and that is what we must gently uncover together right here now. Because what comes next is not about striving harder, it is about seeing clearer, choosing differently, and trusting deeper than before, and once you recognize it, everything begins to shift quietly into place, leading you into what has been waiting with your name on it even when you do not. There is a reason this message found you in this exact moment, and deep down, you can feel that truth settling in your spirit. Not loudly, not dramatically, but in a quiet knowing that says, "This is for me." Out of all the noise, all the distractions, all the voices competing for your attention, something guided you here with intention. You have been feeling things more deeply than usual, haven't you? Not just emotions, but shifts, patterns, signs that others might overlook. The repeating numbers, the dreams that linger longer than they should, the subtle sense that something is changing even when nothing around you seems different. This sensitivity is not a weakness. It is awareness, and it has been sharpening through everything you have walked through. And yet, at the same time, there has been a weight on your heart. A quiet exhaustion that does not always come from what you do, but from what you carry internally. You have been showing up, holding on, trying to stay steady, even when it feels like your efforts go unseen and your prayers echo back in silence. That feeling of being overlooked, of wondering if anyone truly notices, has been sitting with you longer than you expected. But hear this clearly, your experience has not gone unnoticed. Not one moment of your patience, not one silent prayer, not one tear you wiped away quickly so no one would ask questions. There has been an awareness over your life that has not missed a single detail. What you thought was hidden has been seen fully, and what you thought was insignificant has been deeply understood. This is where the contrast begins to shift for you. What you have been interpreting as silence is not absence. It has been a whisper, steady and consistent, but easy to miss when your mind is filled with noise. Silence feels empty when you expect answers in a certain way, but a whisper requires stillness to be recognized. And you have been learning, even without realizing it, how to become still enough to hear differently. Think about the moments when you felt a gentle nudge, a hesitation before making a decision, or an unexplainable peace when something did not work out the way you planned. Those were not coincidences. That was guidance, subtle but precise, leading you away from what would drain you and toward what will sustain you. You have also been in battles that others cannot see. Not physical, not always obvious, but internal. The kind that happens in your thoughts, in your doubts, in the quiet spaces where fear tries to rewrite what you believe about yourself and your future. You have been stronger than you give yourself credit for, because you are still here, still seeking, still open, even after everything that could have closed your heart. And that is why this message has reached you. Not because you are perfect, not because you have everything figured out, but because you are still willing. Willing to listen, willing to grow, willing to believe that something greater is unfolding even when you cannot fully see it yet. There is a connection being built right now between where you are and where you are meant to be. It is not random, and it is not rushed. It is intentional, and it requires your trust more than your effort. You do not need to force your way forward. You need to recognize what has been guiding you all along. So as you sit with these words, allow yourself to feel seen, not just emotionally, but spiritually. You are not lost in this process. You are being led, even when the path feels unclear. And as this awareness begins to settle in you, you will start to understand why timing has felt so unusual lately, and why what feels delayed is actually aligning in ways you have not yet fully understood. You have felt it, that pressure to move quickly, to decide before you feel ready, to fix something before it falls apart. It rises suddenly, almost like a wave, convincing you that if you do not act now, you will lose something important. But pause for a moment and notice this carefully, because not every sense of urgency is truth. What you are experiencing is the difference between human panic and divine timing, and they do not feel the same, even if they appear similar at first. Panic is loud, rushed, and demanding. It tells you that everything depends on your immediate action, that there is no space to breathe, no room to wait. It creates tension in your body, confusion in your mind, and a constant sense of being behind. Divine timing, on the other hand, carries a different energy. It may still feel important, even urgent in its own way, but it does not strip you of peace. It invites you forward rather than pushing you. It allows clarity to rise instead of forcing decisions in chaos. Even when the path is not fully visible, there is a steadiness underneath it that says, you are safe to move at the right pace. This is where many become misaligned without realizing it. They respond to panic as if it were purpose. They make decisions to escape discomfort rather than to honor direction. And in doing so, they step into situations that look right on the surface but do not carry the depth of what is truly meant for them. You have been close to doing this yourself. There have been moments where you almost said yes too quickly, almost chased something that felt urgent but not peaceful. That tension you felt inside was not confusion, it was discernment trying to get your attention. Now consider this: what if the delay you have been frustrated with is not a barrier, but a form of protection? What if the doors that did not open, the responses that did not come, the plans that did not unfold the way you expected, were not signs of rejection, but signs that something was not yet aligned? Delay often feels like denial when you are looking at it from a place of expectation. You planned, you hoped, you prepared, and when it did not happen, it felt like something was taken from you. But from a higher perspective, delay can be redirection. It can be the space where unseen adjustments are made, where things you cannot yet see are being positioned correctly. There are details you do not have access to yet. Conversations you have not heard, shifts you have not witnessed, outcomes that are still forming beyond your current understanding. And if everything had happened when you wanted it to, you might have stepped into something incomplete, something that would require you to carry more than you were meant to. This is why patience is not passive. It is active trust. It is choosing not to force movement when clarity has not fully arrived. It is allowing space for alignment instead of filling that space with rushed decisions. And I know this has not been easy for you. Waiting can feel like standing still while everything around you moves forward. It can feel like being forgotten, like your moment is being delayed while others seem to receive what you have been praying for. But what you cannot see yet is that your path is not behind. It is being prepared differently. The timing of your life is not operating on comparison, it is operating on precision. And precision often requires pauses that do not make sense in the moment. There is something forming beneath the surface of your current situation. Something that requires the exact version of you that is still being shaped right now. If it came earlier, you might not have recognized it. If it came rushed, you might not have been ready to sustain it. So instead of asking, "Why is this taking so long?" begin to ask, "What is being aligned that I cannot yet see?" That question will shift your perspective from frustration to awareness. Because soon, you will begin to notice that what felt like delay was actually preparation, and what felt like stillness was actually movement happening in a quieter form. And when that becomes clear to you, you will also understand why rushing would have taken you in the wrong direction entirely. Listen carefully, because this is where everything begins to turn for you. The mistake is not something loud or obvious. It is subtle, almost disguised as responsibility, care, or urgency. And that is why so many step into it without realizing they are moving out of alignment. The mistake is this: acting from fear instead of from faith. It shows up when you feel the need to rush, to fix, to chase, to secure something before it feels like it slips away. It convinces you that if you do not act now, you will lose your opportunity. But what it is really doing is pulling you into decisions that are not rooted in peace. You may call it effort. You may call it love. You may even call it wisdom. But if there is tension driving it, if there is anxiety beneath it, then it is not alignment. It is fear trying to take control of the outcome. This is where overgiving begins. You give more than you should, hoping it will create stability. You say yes when your spirit feels hesitation. You try to prove your worth, your value, your readiness, believing that if you do enough, you will finally receive what you have been waiting for. But what is meant for you does not require you to overextend yourself to be chosen. There is a difference between showing up with intention and stretching yourself beyond what is healthy. One is rooted in alignment. The other is rooted in fear of losing something that has not even been secured yet. And then there is chasing. That restless energy that keeps you moving towards something that never quite settles. It looks promising at first. It feels exciting, even convincing. But it lacks one thing that your spirit recognizes immediately: peace. This is the difference between what is a counterfeit and what is a true calling. A counterfeit will often appear quickly. It will feel urgent, almost too perfectly timed. It will ask for immediate action, leaving no room for reflection. It may look like the answer, sound like the answer, even resemble what you have been praying for. But beneath the surface, there is instability. There is pressure. There is a quiet discomfort that you cannot fully explain. A true calling, however, does not rush you into confusion. It may still require courage, but it carries clarity with it. Even if you do not understand every detail, there is a steadiness that allows you to breathe. You do not feel like you are forcing it to work. It begins to unfold in a way that meets you where you are. Right now, you are standing between these two paths. One is asking you to act quickly, to secure, to control. The other is asking you to pause, to trust, to discern. And the tension you feel is not because you are lost. It is because you are being asked to choose differently than you have before. This is not about doing nothing. It is about doing the right thing at the right time, for the right reasons. You do not need to chase what is already being aligned for you. You do not need to force what is meant to meet you. And you do not need to prove your readiness by exhausting yourself in the process. The mistake would be ignoring the signals within you. The hesitation, the lack of peace, the quiet inner resistance. Those are not obstacles. They are guidance trying to slow you down before you step into something that looks right but is not rooted in truth. And I know how convincing it can be. When you have waited for so long, anything that resembles an answer can feel like the answer. But not everything that arrives is meant to remain. Some things come as tests, not as destinations. Tests to see if you will choose alignment over urgency, discernment over impulse, faith over fear. This is your moment of awareness. Not to create pressure, but to create clarity. You are not being asked to lose anything. You are being guided to recognize what truly belongs to you so that you do not settle for something that only imitates it. So slow down. Breathe. Step back from the need to decide immediately. Give yourself space to feel what is real and what is only appearing real. Because the path that is meant for you will not require you to abandon your peace to walk it. And as you begin to recognize that difference more clearly, you will also begin to see why this moment has felt so intense, and what has been trying to pull you out of alignment without you even noticing it before now. What you have been feeling is not just emotional, and it is not random. There is a subtle battle happening around your focus, your clarity, and your peace, and it does not always appear the way you expect. It does not arrive loudly or dramatically. It often comes quietly, through confusion, through doubt, through pressure that seems to rise without a clear reason. You may have noticed how your thoughts can suddenly shift. One moment you feel steady, almost certain, and the next you are questioning everything. You revisit decisions, second-guess your instincts, and feel an urgency that was not there before. This is how the distraction works. It does not need to stop you completely. It only needs to cloud your clarity long enough for you to move out of alignment. But understand this clearly, you are not under attack in a way that leaves you unprotected. You are surrounded by more covering than you realize. The very fact that you are aware, that you are pausing, that you are seeking understanding instead of reacting blindly, is evidence that you are not being overtaken by this. The battle is not about overpowering you. It is about influencing you. There is a difference. If it were about overpowering, you would feel completely lost, disconnected, unable to recognize what is happening. But you are noticing the tension. You are sensing when something feels off. You are becoming aware of the internal shifts. That awareness is not weakness. It is protection working through you. This is where the contrast becomes important again. What feels like chaos is not always chaos. Sometimes it is contained pressure, allowed only to a certain extent, so that you can learn to recognize the difference between what is true and what is trying to appear true. Think about how a storm looks from inside it compared to from above it. Inside, everything feels overwhelming, loud, and disorienting. But from above, there is structure, there is movement with boundaries, there is a limit to how far it can go. What you are experiencing right now may feel like you are inside the storm, but you are still within a covering that has not been removed from you. Nothing that is happening around you has been given unlimited access to your life. That means you still have the ability to choose. You still have the ability to pause. You still have the ability to recognize what aligns with peace and what pulls you into pressure. And this is where your strength is being revealed. Not in how fast you act, not in how much you control, but in how clearly you discern. You are stronger than the patterns that are trying to pull you back into old ways of reacting. You are stronger than the voice that tells you to rush, to fix, to overextend. That voice may be loud, but it is not authoritative. It does not define your path unless you agree with it through your actions. There is also something else happening that you may not have fully noticed yet. The more you resist acting from fear, the more the pressure can intensify for a moment. Not because you are doing something wrong, but because the pattern is losing its influence over you. It is like a door that is beginning to close on something that once had easy access. As it closes, there may be one last attempt to pull your attention back, to create urgency, to make you question your stillness. But that does not mean you should reopen the door. It means you are closer to alignment than before. So when you feel overwhelmed, do not assume you are failing. When you feel pressure, do not assume you are behind. Instead, recognize that you are in a moment of decision, a moment where awareness matters more than reaction. You are not alone in this. You have not been left to figure this out without support. There is a covering over your life that has not lifted, even in your most uncertain moments. And as you begin to trust that more deeply, you will start to see that what once felt like chaos is actually contained, and what once felt like weakness is actually strength being refined. Because this is not just about what is happening around you. It is about who you are becoming within it, and how that version of you will move forward differently than before. Before you question your path again, look back for a moment, because the evidence you need is already behind you. There were situations you thought you needed, doors you were certain should open, outcomes you believed would finally bring relief. And yet, they did not unfold the way you expected. At the time, it felt like rejection. It felt like something was withheld, like you were overlooked or passed by. But now, with even a little distance, you can begin to see something different. Some of those situations would have drained you. Some of those connections would have confused you. Some of those opportunities would have required more from you than they were ever meant to give back. What you thought was a loss was, in many ways, a form of protection. There were near misses you did not fully recognize. Conversations that did not continue. Plans that suddenly shifted. Moments where something simply did not feel right, even if you could not explain why. Those were not interruptions to your life. They were adjustments within it. Protection does not always feel comforting in the moment. Sometimes it feels like delay. Sometimes it feels like disappointment. Sometimes it feels like silence when you were hoping for clarity. But protection often works quietly, redirecting you before you step into something that would take more from you than it would ever give. Think about how many times something did not work out, and later you realized it was not what you truly needed. At the time, you could not see it clearly. Your perspective was limited to what you hoped for. But as time moved forward, the truth revealed itself in ways that made more sense. This is how unseen guidance works. It does not always explain itself immediately. It moves with a broader awareness, one that includes outcomes you cannot yet predict and consequences you cannot yet measure. And through all of this, you have not been abandoned. You have been guided. Even in moments where you felt alone, there has been a steady presence keeping certain things from fully entering your life. Not to deprive you, but to preserve you. Not to hold you back, but to position you correctly. This is where your perspective begins to soften. Instead of asking, "Why did this not happen?" you begin to ask, "What was I being protected from?" That question does not create frustration. It creates awareness. It allows you to trust that even what did not work out had purpose. You are not behind because something did not happen. You are not lacking because something was removed. You are being shaped through what was allowed and what was prevented. And as you begin to trust that more deeply, fear starts to lose its hold on you. Because fear tells you that everything depends on you getting it right immediately. But protection reminds you that even when you do not see clearly, you are not navigating this alone. There is a level of care over your life that does not rely on your perfection. It meets you where you are and adjusts what needs to be adjusted along the way. So instead of holding on to what did not work out, begin to release it with understanding. Not everything that leaves is a loss. Some things leave because they were never meant to stay. And as this truth settles within you, you will begin to approach what is in front of you differently, with less fear, more awareness, and a deeper sense of trust in what is being aligned for you right now. Right now, without fully realizing it, you are in a test, and not the kind designed to make you fail, but the kind that reveals what you have truly learned. This moment is not. It is a quiet checkpoint between who you were and who you are becoming. You can feel it in the tension that rises when something does not go the way you expected. The urge to react quickly, to say something, to fix something, to regain control. That pull is familiar, almost automatic, because it is how you have protected yourself in the past. But this time, something within you is hesitating. That hesitation is not confusion. It is awareness. This is the difference between reaction and response. Reaction is immediate, emotional, often driven by fear or pressure. It seeks relief, not clarity. Response, however, is intentional. It pauses. It listens. It allows space before choosing what to do next. And right now, you are being invited to respond instead of react. This may seem like a small shift, but it changes everything. Because when you react, you move from habit. When you respond, you move from alignment. Think about the patterns you have already outgrown. The situations where you once would have rushed in, over-explained, overgave, or tried to control the outcome. You are no longer that same version of yourself, even if the old impulses still try to rise within you. This is where the test becomes clear. Will you return to what feels familiar but no longer serves you, or will you remain centered long enough to choose differently? It is not about being perfect. It is about being aware in the moment where it matters most. There may be something in your life right now that is triggering this exact tension. A decision waiting to be made. A conversation that feels unresolved. An opportunity that seems to require immediate action. And within that situation, you can feel two directions pulling at you. One says, act now, do something, don't lose control. The other says, pause, breathe, wait until you are clear. The breakthrough you are hoping for is not just about what happens externally. It is also about this internal shift. Because what comes next in your life requires a different version of you, one that does not move from fear, but from grounded clarity. And here is what you may not have realized yet. The intensity you feel right now is not a sign that you are falling behind. It is a sign that this moment matters. Tests often come disguised as ordinary situations. Nothing dramatic, nothing obvious, just a moment where your usual response is challenged. And in that moment, your choice begins to shape what unfolds next. If you slow down, even slightly, you will notice something important. The pressure begins to lose its grip. The urgency starts to soften. And in that space, a clearer perspective begins to emerge. This is the shift. It does not require a major decision. It does not require you to change everything at once. It requires a small but powerful adjustment in how you handle this moment. A pause before speaking. A breath before deciding. A willingness to step back instead of stepping in immediately. That small shift is what opens the door to clarity. And once clarity is present, peace follows naturally. You do not have to force peace. It comes when you stop feeding the urgency that was never meant to lead you. So stay centered. Even if it feels unfamiliar. Even if part of you wants to move quickly just to feel relief. Because what you are doing right now is not just avoiding a mistake. You are stepping into a new way of being, one that aligns with what is already being prepared for you. And as you hold that center, even for a moment longer than you used to, you will begin to notice something changing within you, something subtle but powerful, that will soon make your next steps feel clearer than they have in a long time. Now this is where everything becomes real for you, because clarity without action will not change your direction. You have felt the tension, you have recognized the patterns, and you are beginning to see the difference between fear and alignment. But what you do next, in the quiet moments no one else sees, is what will anchor this shift in your life. Start here, and keep it simple. When you feel pressure rising, pause before you decide anything. Not forever, not in avoidance, but long enough to let the urgency settle. You do not need to respond immediately to every message, every situation, every opportunity. Give yourself space to breathe, because clarity does not arrive in chaos. It rises in stillness. Then begin to pay attention to what has already been trying to speak to you. Your dreams, the patterns you notice, the repeated thoughts that return when you are calm. These are not random. They are pieces of awareness that deserve your attention. Take a few moments each day to write them down. Not to overanalyze, but to observe. Over time, you will begin to see connections that were not obvious before. This is how discernment grows, not through force, but through consistent awareness. You also need to look at your boundaries, especially the emotional ones. Where have you been giving too much, explaining too much, trying to hold things together that are not yours to carry? Alignment requires space, and space cannot exist where everything is constantly being filled by other people's needs and expectations. It is okay to step back. It is okay to say no without guilt. It is okay to protect your energy without feeling like you are doing something wrong. You are not withdrawing from life. You are creating room for what is actually meant to reach you. And as you create that space, bring your focus back to something even deeper, your connection with God. You do not need complicated words. You do not need perfect structure. Just be honest. Ask for clarity. Ask for discernment. Ask to recognize what is aligned and what is not. Then allow yourself to sit in that quiet, even if nothing immediate seems to happen. That stillness is not empty. It is where your awareness is being strengthened. You are not trying to control the outcome. You are learning to recognize the direction. And this is important, because alignment is not built in one moment. It is built in small, consistent choices. Choosing not to react when you feel triggered. Choosing to observe instead of assuming. Choosing to trust what feels peaceful instead of what feels urgent. These are simple actions, but they are powerful. If you are ready to step into that kind of alignment, not perfectly, but intentionally, then anchor that decision right now. Type Amen if you choose alignment over fear. Not as a performance, but as a declaration to yourself that you are done letting urgency lead you away from what is meant for you. Because this is where your participation matters. You are not being asked to figure everything out at once. You are being asked to take responsibility for how you show up in these moments. To slow down, to listen, to trust what is being revealed to you step by step. And as you begin to live this out, even in small ways, you will notice something shifting. The confusion will begin to clear. The pressure will not feel as overwhelming. Decisions that once felt complicated will start to feel more obvious. Not because everything around you has changed, but because you have. And that internal shift is what prepares you for what is coming next, because what is ahead will require not just awareness, but trust in what has been quietly aligning beyond what you can currently see. What if the part that confused you the most was actually the part that was working the hardest for you? Stay with that thought, because it shifts everything you believed about this season. All the pauses, the unanswered messages, the plans that slowed down, the doors that did not open when you expected them to, none of it was empty. It felt like stagnation because you could not see movement, but movement was happening in places you did not have access to yet. This is what you didn't see coming. While you were questioning your direction, something was being rearranged beyond your view. Not rushed, not forced, but carefully aligned. Situations were being adjusted. People were being redirected. Outcomes were being shaped in a way that would not require you to struggle to hold them together later. You thought you were waiting, but in reality, you were being positioned. Think about how different things feel now compared to before. Not everything is clear yet, but something within you has shifted. You are less reactive, more aware, more willing to pause instead of forcing movement. That change did not happen It happened because this time was doing something within you as much as around you. The confusion had a purpose. It slowed you down long enough to see patterns you would have ignored if everything had worked out quickly. It made you question what you were chasing and why. It revealed what drained you and what brought you peace. Without that confusion, you might have stepped into something that looked right but did not truly fit where you are meant to go. Now, you are beginning to see the difference. What once felt urgent now feels questionable. What once felt necessary now feels optional. And what once felt unclear is slowly becoming more defined, not all at once, but in small, steady ways. This is how preparation reveals itself. Not through one dramatic moment, but through a series of realizations that begin to connect. You start to understand why certain things did not work out. You begin to recognize why certain people could not stay. You see how what felt like loss was actually space being created for something more aligned. Nothing was random. Even the delays carried intention. They gave time for the right conditions to form, not just externally, but within you. Because what is coming requires a version of you that does not rush, that does not chase, that does not settle out of fear. And that version of you is forming now. You are not the same person who first started asking those questions. You are more aware, more grounded, more capable of discerning what feels right beyond appearances. That is not something you could have rushed. It had to develop over time. So what you didn't see coming was not just the alignment around you, but the transformation within you. And now, both are beginning to meet. This is why patience was necessary. Not to delay your life, but to prepare it. Not to hold you back, but to position you correctly so that when things do begin to move, they will not require you to force them into place. You are closer than you realize, not because something suddenly appeared, but because everything that was quietly aligning is now beginning to reach a point where it can meet you where you stand. And as that realization settles in, you will begin to sense the shape of what is ahead, not in exact details, but in the way it feels, steady, clear, and deeply right in a way you have not experienced before. What is coming toward you may not look the way you imagined, and that is exactly why it will feel right. You have been expecting something obvious, something dramatic, something that announces itself clearly so you cannot miss it. But what is actually forming carries a different kind of presence, one that is quieter, steadier, and deeply aligned with who you are becoming. Your breakthrough is not arriving as chaos turning into control. It is arriving as confusion turning into clarity. You will begin to notice it in small ways at first. A decision that once felt heavy suddenly feels simple. A situation that once caused tension no longer pulls at you the same way. Conversations become clearer. Your responses become more grounded. It is not that everything around you instantly changes, but your relationship to it does. This is where expectation and reality begin to separate. You expected something that would force everything into place at once. But what is actually coming will fit into your life without needing to be forced. It will not demand that you prove yourself or stretch beyond your capacity just to maintain it. It will meet you where you are, not where you feel pressured to be. There is also a restoration happening within this shift. Not necessarily returning things exactly as they were, but restoring what was lost in a way that aligns with your growth. Peace where there was anxiety. Confidence where there was doubt. Direction where there was confusion. And along with that, opportunity will begin to appear, not as overwhelming options, but as clear openings. You will recognize them not because they are urgent, but because they are steady. They will not pull you into panic. They will invite you into movement with a sense of calm. This is how you will know the difference. What is meant for you will not compete for your attention through pressure. It will remain present, allowing you the space to choose it without fear. It will not disappear the moment you pause. It will stay, because it is aligned, not temporary. There is a quiet confidence that comes with this kind of breakthrough. Not loud, not rushed, but certain. You will not feel like you are chasing it. You will feel like you are walking into something that has already made space for you. And this is important, because the version of you stepping into this is not the same as before. You are more aware now. More grounded. Less willing to settle for what only looks right on the surface. That awareness is what allows you to recognize what is truly aligned when it appears. You are not being given something to struggle to keep. You are being guided into something that fits. So release the expectation that it has to be dramatic to be meaningful. Sometimes the most powerful shifts happen quietly, in the way your mind settles, in the way your heart feels at ease, in the way your next step becomes clear without force. If this message is bringing clarity to you, then share this with someone who also needs that covering and understanding right now. Not out of obligation, but because what brings clarity to you can bring peace to someone else as well. Because what is unfolding is not. It is alignment meeting readiness. And as you begin to recognize the shape of this breakthrough, you will also begin to understand how to receive it, not with urgency, but with openness, with trust, and with a calm certainty that what is coming will not require you to lose yourself to hold it. Before you move forward, take a moment to become still. Not rushed, not distracted, just present. Let your breathing slow down, let your thoughts settle, and allow this moment to become intentional. You do not need to strive here. You only need to receive. Close your eyes if you can, or simply soften your focus, and let these words become your own. God, I come to you not with perfection, but with honesty. You see where I have been confused, where I have felt pressure, where I have almost moved out of fear instead of faith. And right now, I release that weight. I release the need to control every outcome. I release the urgency that has been clouding my clarity. I ask for your covering over my mind, over my decisions, over every step I take from this moment forward. Where there has been confusion, bring clarity. Where there has been pressure, bring peace. Where there has been doubt, restore my trust in what you are aligning for me. Help me to recognize what is truly meant for me, not just what appears right on the surface. Strengthen my discernment so I do not rush into what is not aligned. Teach me to pause, to listen, to respond instead of react. Even when it feels unfamiliar, even when it requires patience, anchor me in that stillness. Protect me from what I cannot see. Close the doors that are not meant for me, even if I do not understand it in the moment. And open the ones that align with your purpose for my life, in the right way, at the right time. I trust that I am not alone in this process. I trust that what is being prepared for me will meet me in alignment, not confusion. And I trust that I am being guided, even when the path is not fully visible yet. Right now, I choose alignment over fear. I choose peace over pressure. I choose trust over urgency. If you feel this within you, anchor it with intention. Write, I receive, to affirm that you are open to what is being aligned for you. Write, I am ready, to declare that you are willing to walk forward with clarity and trust. Let those words not just be something you type, but something you carry. Stay here for a moment longer. Let the peace settle. Let the urgency fall away. Let the clarity begin to rise quietly within you. You do not need to have every answer right now. You only need to remain connected to this awareness, to this stillness, to this trust that is forming within you. Because what you have just stepped into is not temporary. It is a shift. And as you hold on to this space of clarity and peace, you will begin to move differently, think differently, and respond differently, in a way that naturally leads you into what has already been prepared for you, even before you could fully see it. Now let this settle within you, not as pressure, but as peace. You came into this moment feeling urgency, questions, maybe even a quiet fear that something important could slip away. But what you have uncovered here is different. You are not being rushed. You are being realigned. You have seen the contrast clearly now. Fear pushes, faith steadies. Panic demands, alignment invites. And the choice in front of you is not about doing more, it is about moving differently. You are not behind. You are not missing what is meant for you. You are being guided into a position where you can receive it without confusion, without force, without losing yourself in the process. Everything we have walked through together, the awareness, the pause, the discernment, it is all leading you into a quieter kind of confidence. The kind that does not need to prove anything, the kind that does not react to every wave of pressure, the kind that knows when to move and when to remain still. And you are not holding this alone. There is a covering over your life that has not left you, even in moments when you felt uncertain. You are supported in ways you cannot always see, guided in ways you are only now beginning to recognize. That has not changed, and it will not suddenly disappear. So stay in alignment. When the pressure tries to return, remember what you felt here. When urgency tries to rush you, come back to stillness. When something feels right but not peaceful, trust the difference you have learned to recognize. This is how you protect what is being prepared for you. And if you want to stay connected to this kind of clarity and covering, subscribe and stay close to these messages. Not out of habit, but as a way to remain anchored in awareness as you continue forward. Because this is not the end of something. It is the beginning of a new way of moving, thinking, and trusting. Walk forward with that quiet confidence now, knowing that you are aligned, you are guided, and you are exactly where you need to be.